Evening, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us again. Today, I wanted to talk about the emotions of a coach. Now, for those people that know me, I'm quite an emotional person, very much wear heart on my sleeve, and that is my approach to training, that is my approach to games, was my approach as a player as well, and certainly is my approach as a coach. And I've got to be honest with you, if you're looking at being a coach, there's going to be some highs, there's going to be some lows. But luckily, this week, I'm coming back to you and saying that we finally managed to get over the line in a very, very tight affair. Incredibly proud of the boys. If I say that after about 45 minutes, we were, I think it was 33-18 down and went on to win the game. That is pride in kind of those boys and that effort that they put in. Now, what I would say is the preceding 45 minutes prior to that pride was very much highs, very much lows, very much in between. And that's going to come with coaching. That's going to come with coaching at any level, but at a grassroots level, people might just not be feeling it on that day. Things might just not be going your way. And there's quite a lot of things out of your control as a coach. But actually, the overriding feeling is relief and real pride in regards to what those boys kind of put together. And I think what's really important to remember is you can do all the prep for your coaching, you can do all the prep for your training sessions, all that sort of stuff. And you might have identified things that aren't quite working for you over the last couple of weeks in the opening stages of the season. And you might have worked really, really hard on fixing those. I know that's what we've done as a group. We've worked really hard on fixing things. But then other things fall away from week to week. Sometimes I feel like a plumber plugging one gap in a pipe and then 2 minutes later another gap in the pipe appears and you just think, when is this ever going to stop? But I think it's really important to remember as a coach that actually you have to be ready for anything. You have to be able to kind of think on your feet. You have to be able to be adaptable. You have to be able to change things as well, because what you think might be going really well one day might just stop. For example, I said a couple of weeks ago that our defence was fantastic in the sort of local derby game. We got off the line, we put pressure on, we hunted in numbers, we did all that great work, and that was a real benchmark. And I tried to say to the boys, look, this is your benchmark, this is what we've got to achieve. And then on Saturday, I don't know where it went. The first 45 minutes, we just looked like we didn't want to tackle. The hunger was gone, the hunt was not there. And that's really difficult as a coach, because I think to myself, well, I fixed this. You know, we've spoken about this. We think we know what we're doing. And then a new weekend comes around, maybe a new attitude, maybe some new boys in the starting lineup. And you've just got to kind of go back to basics. Make sure you're coming back to those principles of what you expect as a coach, what you expect as your players, and actually what the players expect of each other as well. And I think that kind of brings me on to my last point of today, is actually remember, as a coach, we are there to sort of build belief and build resilience in your players. And that is really difficult if they're not kind of sticking to the plan or not doing the things that you were hoping that they would do. But I think it's really important to actually let the senior players or the captains lead a lot of the conversations during the game. I try and stay as much out of those conversations in game, other than at the start of the game, at halftime, at the end of the game, because I'm not playing. I don't know what it feels like out on that field. I'm only seeing kind of things happening from the sideline, and that's really difficult to kind of get an idea of exactly what's happening. What I was really proud of is, as I came over to kind of speak to the lads at half time, the captains and the senior players were taking hold of that group and they were making all of the points I was about to make. And that genuinely, I was so proud of those boys. I didn't have to go in there. I didn't have to scream. I didn't have to shout. I was very close to doing all of those things. But actually, those boys had identified the same things that I had, which means they are not just playing that game. They are thinking outside of the box, and they know how they should be doing that. They know what it should look like on the field. But obviously, they know how to fix it. And really, Saturday was all about attitude. and attitude needed to change. And in the second half, it did change. But that attitude change didn't necessarily come from anything that I said. Actually, it was that internal conversation. The captains and the senior boys getting them by the scruff of the neck and saying, look, listen here, fellas, we've got to do this together. You can't do this on your own. Let's get back to the game plan and let's get moving forward. And for me, that all came back to breeding culture within your club. As a coach, that is number one rule. Make sure that people know what the culture of that club is, what they are coming into. Because when people have got a structure and they've got expectations, that's what they know, what is expected of them. We had a load of new boys come down training, had a load of new boys come down watch on Saturday, and that's fantastic. And hopefully, from pre-season through to the games that we played so far, we've instilled that idea of culture. What is expected when you pull on that shirt? And I was so proud to see those boys stand and deliver those messages of what is expected. This is how we play. This is who we are. So I didn't have to do that. I thought it was brilliant, and I hope that continues as we move through the season.